The moment Caelan Voss walked into the conference room that bright Tuesday morning, my stomach tightened so hard it felt like someone had wrapped a fist around my ribs. He didn't even look at me. And somehow, that hurt more than when he did. For 3 years, we had been locked in a silent war inside one of the city's most competitive marketing firms. Every presentation became a battle. Every promotion felt like a race. Every meeting turned into another opportunity to prove who was smarter, faster, and more valuable. Then one ordinary afternoon, under the bright daylight streaming through the office windows, the man I considered my greatest enemy made a proposal that would change both of our lives forever. One night. No strings attached. And then we'd go right back to hating each other. Before we continue, if you believe kindness and second chances can change lives, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Ancient Truth for more emotional stories that stay with you long after they end. I wish I could say I laughed in his face. I wish I could say I walked away. Instead, I stood there frozen. Because beneath the confidence in his voice, beneath the cold expression he always wore around me, I saw something I'd never noticed before. Pain. Real pain. The kind that hides behind perfect smiles and expensive suits. The kind that keeps people awake at night. The kind I knew all too well. My name is Selene Mercer, and until that day, I thought I understood exactly who Caelan Voss was. Arrogant. Selfish. Competitive. The golden employee everyone admired. The man who somehow always managed to stay one step ahead of me. What I didn't know was that I had spent years hating someone who was fighting battles far heavier than my own. The rivalry started on my first day. I had worked harder than anyone I knew to earn my position. Coming from a struggling family, success wasn't optional for me. It was survival. My father had passed away when I was 17. My mother worked herself sick trying to keep our small home. Every achievement felt like carrying my family's future on my shoulders. So when Caelan publicly challenged my first major campaign proposal during a company meeting, I never forgot the humiliation. Everyone laughed nervously. I burned with embarrassment. And from that moment forward, we became rivals. Years passed. The competition intensified. When I won, he pushed harder. When he succeeded, I worked longer hours. Neither of us ever backed down. People in the office joked that we were like two storms constantly colliding. What nobody realized was how lonely both storms really were. I spent most evenings sitting alone in my apartment overlooking the city. The daytime energy of the office faded into silence. Friends gradually drifted away. Relationships never lasted. My life became work. Achievement. Deadlines. Repeat. And somehow, without noticing, I became exhausted. Not physically. Emotionally. The kind of tiredness that sleep can't fix. One afternoon, after an especially brutal week, I stayed late preparing a client proposal. The office was nearly empty. Sunlight poured through the glass walls, painting everything gold. I was reviewing slides when I heard quiet footsteps. Caelan. Of course. He approached my desk. For once, neither of us looked ready to fight. He seemed strangely vulnerable. Almost human. Then he made the proposal. Not because of attraction. Not because of romance. Because he was tired. Because he was lonely. Because he said he couldn't remember the last time someone truly saw him as a person instead of a competitor. I remember staring at him in disbelief. The entire conversation felt surreal. Yet the honesty in his eyes stopped me from dismissing him completely. For the first time in years, neither of us wore our armor. Neither of us pretended to be invincible. And that terrified me more than any argument we'd ever had. Days passed. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not the arrangement itself. But what had led him to suggest it? Loneliness recognizes loneliness. Maybe that's why his words followed me everywhere. Then something unexpected happened. I started noticing things. The dark circles beneath his eyes. The way he stared blankly out windows during meetings. The moments when his smile seemed forced. Tiny details I had ignored for years. One Friday afternoon, everything changed. Our company hosted a charity event at a local community center. Employees volunteered to help renovate classrooms and distribute supplies. I expected Caelan to avoid the hard work. Instead, I watched him spend hours helping elderly volunteers carry heavy equipment. I watched him sit beside nervous children and patiently encourage them. I watched him quietly donate far more than anyone else. And he never told anyone. Never asked for recognition. Never sought praise. That version of him didn't match the villain I'd created in my mind. Not even close. The realization unsettled me. Because if I had been wrong about him, what else had I been wrong about? Over the following months, our rivalry softened. Not publicly. Nobody else noticed. But small moments began appearing. A shared elevator ride. A brief conversation during lunch. An unexpected compliment on a project. Tiny cracks forming in walls we'd spent years building. Then one bright summer afternoon, I learned the truth. The truth behind the pain I had seen in his eyes. The truth that explained everything. His younger sister had been battling a severe illness for years. Most of his income went toward treatments. Most of his time went toward caring for her. The pressure to succeed wasn't fueled by ego. It was fueled by desperation. Every promotion mattered. Every bonus mattered. Every achievement meant another chance to help someone he loved. Suddenly, every argument we ever had looked different. Every conflict. Every disagreement. Every moment I interpreted as arrogance. Behind it all was fear. Fear of losing someone precious. I sat alone in my apartment that evening as daylight slowly faded across the skyline. And for the first time, I cried. Not because of him. Because of myself. Because I realized how easy it is to judge people when you only see their surface. How quickly we create stories about others. How rarely we ask what pain they might be carrying. After that day, everything changed. Not overnight. Slowly. Authentically. We became friends. Real friends. The kind who show up during difficult days. The kind who listen. The kind who care. The office still saw competitors. But underneath, something deeper was growing. Trust. Respect. Understanding. Months later, my mother suffered a medical emergency. I was terrified. The hospital visits. The uncertainty. The fear. Everything became overwhelming. And during the hardest weeks of my life, Caelan was there. Not with grand gestures. Not with dramatic speeches. Just quiet support. Coffee during long hospital nights. Messages checking in. A reassuring presence when everything felt impossible. Those moments mattered more than he ever knew. Because sometimes the people who save us aren't heroes. Sometimes they're simply the people who stay. The people who refuse to leave when life becomes messy. 1 year after his strange proposal, we found ourselves sitting together in a park during a warm afternoon. Children played nearby. Sunlight danced through the trees. The city hummed quietly in the distance. For a long time, neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. Some silences feel comfortable. Safe. Meaningful. Then I realized something. The arrangement he had proposed never happened. Not the way he intended. Instead, something far more powerful had happened. Two lonely people stopped pretending. Two wounded people allowed themselves to be seen. Two rivals became allies. And eventually, something even more. Not because of one night, but because of hundreds of ordinary days. Days filled with patience, understanding, forgiveness. The things real love is actually built upon. Years later, when people asked how we met, we usually laughed. Nobody believed the story. Nobody could imagine that two people who once seemed destined to hate each other would build a life together. Yet that's exactly what happened. Not because we were perfect. Not because life suddenly became easy. But because we chose empathy over assumptions. Compassion over pride. Connection over fear. And those choices changed everything. If you've ever judged someone too quickly, if you've ever carried resentment towards someone without knowing their full story, let this be your reminder that every person you meet is fighting battles you cannot see. Sometimes your greatest enemy is simply a stranger carrying pain. Sometimes the person who irritates you most understands you better than anyone else. And sometimes the most unexpected relationships become the most meaningful chapters of your life. Before we reach the end, please leave a comment saying, "Everyone has a hidden story." That simple message helps spread kindness to people who may need it today. As the years passed, Caelan's sister recovered. My mother regained her health. Life wasn't perfect. There were still challenges. Still losses. Still difficult days. But we faced them together. And somehow, together made all the difference. The rivalry that once defined us became a memory. A chapter. A lesson. A reminder that hearts can change. People can grow. And second chances can lead to extraordinary destinations. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone you care about, leave a comment below, and subscribe to Ancient Truth. Your support helps these stories reach people who may need hope, healing, and encouragement today. Because sometimes all it takes is one story to remind us that kindness is stronger than judgment, understanding is stronger than pride, and love often arrives from the last place we ever expected. And on the brightest ordinary day, when two rivals finally stopped fighting long enough to see each other clearly, they discovered that the thing they had been searching for all along was never victory. It was connection. And that changed everything. The end.